And we are live. Welcome back, everyone, to CFLW, live coverage of severe weather here in Central Florida on this Friday evening. Good to see you guys. Hope you're doing well. Tracking clusters of severe storms right now. We'll talk about kind of what's going on at the hour. We'll get into what I expect as we go through the remainder of this early evening and even past sunset for tonight. We have one severe thunderstorm. We've had a few other isolated areas of severe storms, but some of this activity is beginning to push a little bit closer into Metro Orlando. We've had some heavier storms in Brevard County as well. As we get the live stream started, CFLW is sponsored by the Lean Law Firm of Central Florida. They're your hometown homeowners insurance attorneys. They do cover the entire state, anything that could impact you or your property. So when you get hail damage, wind damage, hurricanes, you've been in an auto accident, they can walk you through every step of the insurance claim process, offering free consultation and policy reviews. Go to leanonmelaw.com if you would like more information. We appreciate them being the sponsor here of CFLW. Good to see you guys on this Friday evening. Drop in the comment section below where you're viewing from. If you've had some of this nasty weather already, we're just beginning to ramp up. How you doing, Sin? Nice to see you on this Friday evening. So let's break down what the scenario is at this point in time. We do have a severe thunderstorm warning right now for portions of Lake County. Goes for the next 14 minutes, so basically until 7:15. Now, there's a hail core that's basically moving across the turnpike as we speak. That's 91. And then, of course, we have Highway 19 that goes towards the Yahala, Asatula area there, but pretty healthy hail core right over the turnpike as we speak. The threats are winds of 60 miles an hour and some inch-size hail. This is trying to get towards the Yahala area here of Lake County. Could also try and get back towards Tavares as well, as this is generally moving up to the north. This is the actual bulletin from the National Weather Service. We'll look at it together. Again, west central Lake County until 7:15. Near Howey in the hills, moving northeast at 15, 60s and quarters. Hail damage to vehicles expected, wind damage to roof siding and trees. Leesburg, Eustis, Tavares, Mount Dora, Howey in the hills, all areas that could be impacted by this. And this is a northern extent of what is a very large cluster of storms all the way back through the rest of Lake County, places like Claremont, Montverde, Groveland, and then on into Orange County, Oakland, Ocoee, storms beginning to fire up closer to Winter Garden, even downtown. Non-severe, but pretty nasty back into the eastern sides of Pasco County, and then back into the eastern sides of Hillsborough County as well. This complex has produced some severe storms today as well. From time to time, right along the coast on the eastern edge of this cluster, we've had severe thunderstorm warnings and or special weather statements. So now you're looking towards the beach line, the eastern side of Orange County, Wedgefield, Port St. John, Sharps, Cocoa, and Rockledge. And then we have a secondary area here where we do have a special weather statement. This is going to be for northern Flagler County, even north of Palm Coast, but you can see right there, nice little core. So we'll be watching that storm as it gets closer to Palm Coast through the 7 o'clock hour. That special weather statement expires here in about 28 minutes or so. So this is the broad view. Again, as we go over the next couple of hours, especially between now and sunset, we still have the opportunity for some additional severe weather here in Central Florida. We'll see if these storms can kind of get out by themselves, become what we call more discrete. Those are the storms I'd be more concerned about. I mean, that's going to be a tremendous amount of rain and lightning. I mean, you see the lightning count here. It's just probably going to be on the uptick here for the next hour or two. And again, the risk of severe storms overall for today, let me bring that up for you guys real quickly here. Let's take a look at our risk of severe storms. It looks like this. Now, the Storm Prediction Center earlier today was contemplating issuing a severe thunderstorm watch for Central Florida. There's a 40% chance. They never did, okay? How you doing, Farrah? Good to see you. They never did, so that's okay, all right? Maybe we're not going to be as widespread severe weather-wise, but the risk is still there. And as a matter of fact, if anything else, the SPC has slightly nudged the slight risk slightly farther west to kind of line up with where the storms are right now. Again, your yellow area is 2 out of 5 on the scale, the slight risk. Your darker green is 1 out of 5. That's the marginal risk. So outside of the Tampa, St. Pete, Sarasota, Bradenton area, all of Central Florida right now currently under some risk of severe weather the remainder of this Friday. Let's take a look at our live cameras here. I think first look at that would be good. We'll start off in Winter Garden. certainly could see some lightning from this situation out here as we look to the west. The dark sky on the right-hand side, and you can see a little bit of lightning flash right there. That is kind of the eastern extent of that severe thunderstorm in Lake County. You know, you can kind of see everything is moving to the north, right? So left to right on your screen. A little bit of a break in the action after that right now, but there's more lightning there. Again, look, that whole mess in Lake County into northern Polk County has a tremendous amount of lightning with it as well. Hey Randy, how you doing? Will the Villages get hit this evening? Randy, the Villages is on the extreme northwest extent of any possibility. There is a chance, but I would be favoring areas just to the east. Now, we could still see additional storms developing this evening, and I'll highlight that. But Randy, I appreciate your question, and I promise I'll get more into the Villages forecast. But I would say that you guys are going to probably be one of the outskirt areas more than anything. But again, a lot of lightning coming from that storm in Lake County. This is a live look to the Conway cam. Again, this will be a camera we'll be monitoring a little bit later into the 7 o'clock hour as the storms push a little bit closer to downtown Orlando. This camera is looking back off towards the east right now. Kind of a few showers there that we can see from Volusia County and the northern Brevard County coast. That's what's in the far portion of the screen there. Obviously, the breeze has kicked up a little bit there at Lake Conway. And for our attractions friends, again, we've had a little bit of rain activity through Lake Buena Vista already. Certainly concerned about the lightning over the next couple of hours for the Disney property. Again, this camera is just 1 mile from the Magic Kingdom, and we're looking back towards the Magic Kingdom as well. So something to monitor there. But the most active weather right now is going to be from this camera here in Winter Garden in the western sides of Orange County. Again, thick clouds, that severe thunderstorm moving through central. That was awesome. Did you guys see that lightning? Someone clipped that video for me. So hey, the really cool thing about it is that I'm watching on the YouTube live stream and we're about 10 seconds behind. So I'm going to catch that again looking at my tablet. Look at let's see here. Oh yeah, that was awesome. That's why we have these cameras for you guys, so we can bring you the live conditions. And that was some pretty awesome lightning. If you guys didn't catch it, scrub back 30 seconds and you're going to see some good branch lightning coming from that camera there in Winter Garden. But this is what is coming to the Metro Orlando area, right? And again, this is just murky gray sky. It didn't look like much, but we had a pretty good stroke of lightning there, branch. That's the wrong one. Let's get into what's going to be happening right now. So I'm going to go back over to the weather computer. Again, just like Randy, you guys have a specific question about the forecast, let me know in the comments section below. Randy, you can see that, even this severe thunderstorm is going to stay just a little bit to the south and east of you. All right, it's going to be close. Don't get me wrong. But generally speaking, these storms should begin a progression east more than anything for the remainder of the evening hours. I'm not going to rule out the opportunity that a storm back builds into the Villages, but more than likely, probably not going to be a tremendous issue. I am going to do one thing real quick here, guys. When we get into these severe thunderstorms, going to this grayscale map gives us a little bit better contrast on my mapping. So I want to switch over to that real fast as well. And then we'll go into our storm cell tracking mode, which is fantastic. So again, the main game in town right now is this severe thunderstorm warning in Lake County. Certainly looks like we've got some hail here, right? My radar is saying 3/4 inch size. The severe thunderstorm warning is 1 inch. Both are damaging. You get to 3/4, you've got the opportunity to put some dents in cars, to cause some roof issues. So my friends in Yahala, if you have an opportunity to get your car inside before this hail core comes in, I would recommend doing so. Again, it's also not moving very quickly. We've got north at around 8 miles an hour right now. So got to watch out for that. So again, near the Yahala area, if we zoom in here, boy, is it really creeping that slow? I guess so. Might not even get to Yahala for another 26 minutes. That would be the back end of that core. Quite honestly, I think the leading edge of this hail core, where we're tracking it from, is way down here. Now this actual severe thunderstorm continues to work north and east, And again, based on that, this is going to be pushing into places like Howie in the Hills right now, or even a couple minutes past. Taveri, 729. Oakland Park, 736. And the Eustis area at 746. So we'll probably start to, again, bend this a little bit more to the east. We'll see how close it gets to Leesburg. I do believe that the worst part of that storm should miss Leesburg East. All right. But you have an additional storm near Umatilla right now, which is beginning to pulse up too. All right. So now that storm's kind of out by itself. You know, this storm near Astor and Pearson will bear watching. It's out by itself. How much stronger does it get? And again, you've got this huge complex of storms, which is now almost propagating and developing off towards the east. But anywhere that you guys see these triangles, the radar is picking up the opportunity for some hail. Even in downtown Orlando right now, maybe some very small pea-sized hail. That cell, again, tracking to the kind of east-northeast right near Fairview Shores, 714, Eatonville 720, Winter Park 722, Maitland 726, Oviedo Inn at 759. Hey, Bauer Power Storms. Dude, this ain't live and there's no tornado. This is no tornado right now, no live tornado, but there is a risk for an isolated tornado, all right? Again, no tornado warning. That's not what the thumbnail says. It's severe storms. An isolated tornado risk does exist, all right? There is some minor rotation with some of these storms, and thankfully right now we don't have a tornado warning, but it's not out of the question. The risk is low, but it's not non-zero. So we'll have to be monitoring that for you. All right, so special weather statement right now for the Wedgefield area. Let's get that. That's the new part of that on the west side. So severe strong thunderstorm impacting west central Brevard and the southeastern sides of Orange counties through 7:30. We've got ourselves a strong thunderstorm near Christmas moving northeast at around 15. Winds gusting to around 50 miles an hour and some pea-sized hail. All right, so again, nasty storm, pea-sized hail, a lot of lightning just on the eastern sides of Wedgefield. This will probably just kind of meander like this whole cluster has over the Port St. John area towards Sharps and Cocoa, where again, we're picking up more hail as a potential right along I-95. And again, everything kind of moving off towards the east. So that particular one is going to try and kind of bend back over towards the Sharps area. And again, that time of arrival somewhere around 7:31 in about 20 minutes. All right. So that's what we have currently right now. And again, appreciate you guys tuning in. While you're doing so, thanks for liking this live stream. Have a specific question about the forecast, feel free to drop it in the comments section below. But again, this is, if you joined me for either last night or the live show this afternoon at 1 o'clock, this is the beginning of what's going to be an extremely active forecast for us for 4 more days. All right? We have at least severe weather chances through Sunday evening. And then ultimately, more than likely, a very heavy rain event trying to move in on Monday. And with all the rain that we've already seen, we just kind of compound that potential flooding threat as we get into early next week. It's amazing to talk about the fact that we were looking at drought conditions the last several months, and now we're going to be looking at so much rain so soon that we would also have that opportunity to get very heavy rainfall and some flooding conditions out there as well. So again, severe thunderstorm warning is in effect for Lake County. Now this will go for the next 2 minutes. We'll see what the Weather Service wants to do with this cell. We still have a pretty decent hail core moving towards Yohala. So it'll all depend on whether we're still going to get 60-mile-an-hour winds or inch-sized hail. It'll be close. They might issue a special weather statement instead. But again, these storms continue to work their way through the western sides of Orange County and through Lake County. So let's go back over to our camera from Winter Garden. There is the live look right there for you. And again, very heavy rain on the northern side of that. Lightning will continue to develop across the area. And again, storms, well, they'll continue to develop too. Just want to sit on this camera for a second and see if we can catch another beautiful lightning stroke there. But again, if you live, yep, there it is on the right-hand side. If you guys live in Orange County, if you live in Metro Orlando, these are the storms that are going to be headed our way fairly shortly. Conway Camp still looks pretty good right now, right? Opportunity there to probably see these storms roll through that area as well. And again, down in Disney, if you're headed for the fireworks displays tonight, certainly concerned about the lightning sticking around even past sunset this evening. Right now, we're relatively quiet in Lake Buena Vista, but that could all change pretty soon. All right, so let me get back over to the weather computer here. And again, we're going to see this severe thunderstorm warning expire at 7:15, and we'll see what the Weather Service wants to do from there. Now, while we're waiting for that decision, if you will, let me take you out to the broad perspective, okay? We have this very potent area of low pressure, which is spinning just south of New Orleans right now. It has brought a few tornado warnings today because there's some rotation. It's brought very heavy rainfall and flooding conditions to portions of coastal Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, and now into our western panhandle. But this will be the catalyst to drive in waves of showers and storms for the next several days. All right. So we're going to be building on the rain that we had yesterday, and we're going to continue to see storms redevelop in the afternoon and evening hours tomorrow, Saturday, and probably even get some morning rain on Sunday. I mentioned it during the 1 o'clock live show. Mother's Day does not look fantastic here in Central Florida. So again, back over to the risk for today. That's the overall risk. When we look at the different categories, your tornado risk is this. It's the area in green. It's only a 2% ring. It's the lowest ring. So the bottom line is that the risk for a tornado embedded within this is very low, but it's not zero. And it does encompass the areas under that slight risk. So I-95 and I-4 back into Metro Orlando. Those are the areas over the next hour or two I'll be keeping a close eye on for any kind of rotation whatsoever. The larger threats are going to be hail, still the lowest 5% ring from the Storm Prediction Center, but also winds. Expecting the wind potential to ramp up a little bit here in the next 60 to 90 minutes. In that yellow area again, which is where the slight risk is under that 15% ring. And basically what that means is that any one point within 25-mile radius of any point within this yellow box, we could have 60-mile-an-hour winds or higher, all right? So not everyone would get it, but their chance is a little bit higher. And again, even in western areas, we could have a few showers and storms. But just like I told Randy in the Villages, not expecting there to be probably a lot of activity, at least in the shorter term for now. However, friends, the next 4 days, wow, it's going to be raucous. So, Weather Service did allow that severe thunderstorm warning to expire. Now, I want to be clear. There is still some hail riding right up 27 as we speak. All right? Let's hope it misses Yahala. But now we have to watch out for maybe some small hail getting into Leesburg and the Sunnyside area. It's an opportunity as it kind of lifts up north. Still expecting all of these to kind of push off eventually to the east. Let me show you guys the composite radar here. And we'll loop that up over the last 2 hours. So first of all, the storms along I-95 have been pinned by the East Coast sea breeze, right? The East Coast sea breeze has marched on a little bit, but they haven't marched on much. So some of the most prolific rain and storms have actually been in Brevard County so far. We've gotten a little bit of a movement here with the storms out west. Polk County, Lake County, kind of developing off to the east. All of this should eventually get pushed off to the east as we go through the remainder of the late evening hours here of this Friday. And again, at any point in time, these could become severe. We could get additional special weather statements, heavy rainfall, winds of 60 plus miles an hour, maybe inch-size hail, hopefully not that big, but it's a possibility here. And again, now we're getting a lot of rain. So ultimately, as we get into tomorrow and especially Sunday and Monday, we've got to talk about a flood risk for some of our areas. It will be area dependent, but there will be a flood risk nonetheless. And again, guys, love to hear from you in the comments section below. If you wouldn't mind, jump in, say hi. Where are my regulars? We had a couple of them, Sin, Farah earlier. I appreciate those fine folks jumping in. There's Fiona, how you doing? Yes, thank you, Fiona. Appreciate you coming in, and I hope you're doing well as well. Fiona does yeoman's work in the chat, and I appreciate her. Again, guys, I appreciate you guys also liking this live stream as well. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, let's try and get to 1,000 subscribers as quickly as possible. That would be fantastic. Still watching this special weather statement over the Wedgefield area. Again, this one, tiny, tiny hail, pea-sized hail moving north into the east. Now, it is going to drift over 50 east of Bithlo. We'll see if this is going to get towards I-95. Max winds of 50 miles an hour, all right? So again, not a severe thunderstorm warning, but a strong one. It's pretty much the same, to be quite honest, in places like Port St. John, Sharps, Cocoa, heavy rain and storms across I-95. Again, you know, areas now are going to start to pick up a lot of rain. There could be some ponding on roadways. US 1, I-95, even towards A1A. Those will all be opportunities there in portions of Brevard County. Watch out as well for any low-lying areas. You know, we're going to start to see that. There was actually a flood advisory a little bit earlier with some of the activity that we had in Brevard County. Now that I remember it. Didn't last long, but pockets of really heavy rain too. See what's going on with this storm up in Palm Coast. So this one is going to be interesting. Special weather statement goes for the next 10 minutes, but it really looks like the core of that storm is actually south of where the Weather Service has the special weather statement right now. It's not a great trajectory for Palm Coast. Certainly looks like Palm Coast could get hit with the opportunity for some hail. Again, still not getting the hail size estimate here. It's not on my end, I'll put it to you that way. Take a look at a couple of different. Okay, again, they just issued the special weather statement south. I love it when a plan comes together. You know, you look at this and you see the core of this storm outside of that polygon, and they just went ahead and reissued south to cover that polygon. But now the problem is going right to Palm Coast. So here you go, Palm Coast. I know we have some watchers who live in Palm Coast, or if you know anyone who lives in Palm Coast, give them a heads up. It's a slow-moving storm, right? But, you know, the core of it, there's a little bit ahead of this actual where we're picking it up from, but certainly the heaviest hail potential is south west of there. So it does look like about 34 minutes or so for Palm Coast. So we have a little bit of time because this is a slow-moving storm. But if the hail were to hold together, that's getting, by the way, to the east side of Palm Coast. But obviously, we've got different divisions of Palm Coast. Some of that is going to be closer to US 1. And for those areas, we have less time. We've got about 18 minutes before some potential hail could be moving in. Now, the threat doesn't look to be large hail. The Weather Service statement is just quarter-size hail. So typically, that's not going to be damaging. You know, pea-sized hail coming down, but could be a lot of it as well. Okay, Randy getting some rain in the southern villages with some impressive squalls. You know, the reason why it's really impressive for you, Randy, is because you are getting the gust front, right? You're getting that push of wind outside of this storm. So, Randy, I will say it has built a little bit farther west, so you might want to get prepared for that one to be heading in. But that's what you're getting. You're getting that gust front, that push of wind, probably cools things down. We all know how that happens as well. But again, that's a nasty part of the storm, which has kind of stuck more due north than anything. I will say that. Still an opportunity for some hail near Yohala, potentially coming up towards Leesburg, and even some maybe along the turnpike as well. Thanks, Zen. Good to see you, Farah. I hope you guys are doing well. Appreciate you guys tuning in. So you can see how widespread the activity is here right now in Central Florida. And it's just pulsed up as far as coverage in the last 20 minutes or so. That storm's getting going near Pearson across 1792. That could potentially be our next strong to severe storm. We have our special weather statement down here in Wedgefield. There's a lot of folks that are going to have some active weather later tonight. Over the next hour or so, we'll just have to see how strong it's going to end up being. That's your look from Winter Garden again. Let's stay on this camera for a minute, see if we can catch any lightning. There is, at least momentarily, a bit of a break in the action in Lake County as we look to the west. And again, this camera is looking west into Lake County. A little bit of a break as far as really intense rain and storms. Still catching some lightning there on the right-hand side of your screen. But there's another batch that's kind of coming out of far northeastern Hillsborough and eastern Pasco, even northwest Polk County, that could also make a run a little bit closer to the metro Orlando area. Going to be some noisy storms, guys. Noisy storms. A lot of lightning. So they went ahead and put up a special weather statement for the Leesburg area. Now again, earlier we had a severe thunderstorm warning, then it went away, and now we have a special weather statement. So there you go, 50-mile-an-hour wind and quarter-size hail. Moving up north. Sunny side, 738. Leesburg area, like the eastern side of Leesburg, if it doesn't catch the center of where I have it plotted, it's not going to put it on this polygon. But ostensibly, Leesburg will be hit in about 13 minutes. And again, quarter-size hail. So if you know anyone who lives in the Leesburg area, let them know. They've got an active storm coming. Now, the lightning is beginning to encroach already, so they're probably aware of the noise, but they may not be aware of some of the threats. Let's take a look at the Weather Service bulletin with this one. We got a strong thunderstorm impacting west central Lake County through 8 o'clock. Doppler radar tracking a strong thunderstorm near Lake Harris, moving north at 15, 50 in P size hail. And again, gusty winds, tree limbs, power outages, blowing around unsecured objects, minor damage to vegetation. Quarter hail, quarter-inch size hail, not literally the quarter size. Not going to cause any damage to your car or your roof, but you don't want to be out in it. There's no doubt about it. Looks like that Pearson is headed my way. It's possible. I mean, this is all going to make a run for the coast eventually, guys. We have a little bit more of a north movement here. This one's actually relatively stationary. And then the storms up in Flagler County are trying to get east. Trying to go over US 1 right now towards I-95. And again, hail, wind, the most prominent widespread threat. An isolated tornado risk is there, but these storms are so muddied right now. You know, it would have to be kind of on the south end, like, you know, here where there's some clear air south. But everything looks pretty muddied as far as that opportunity goes, which is fantastic. We don't want to have to be dealing with that. I always keep an eye on things. This is the velocity product. So, you know, we can always look at these storms, see if there's anything that catches my eye. If you guys notice these bright reds, it's a lot of wind right now, Mims and Titusville area. As a matter of fact, let's bring up our wind gusts. Nothing outrageous, 28-mile-an-hour wind in downtown Orlando, 26 at the Sanford Airport. That's a pretty common sight, right? 25 to 30-mile-an-hour winds, even outside of the thunderstorms. Hi, Linda, how you doing? Fiona has a stormy Ultima. Thanks, Fiona, appreciate you. Hey, Garrett, how you doing? Back at it again. You got it. Appreciate you tuning. Appreciate you tuning back in, Garrett. Hope you're doing well. From North Carolina. Sin from Illinois. We got people watching from across the country, and that's awesome. Well, Garrett, I hope you hit them well today. How you doing, Linda? Linda says, hi, everyone. Thunder and rainy here right now. Ghost Rider, how you doing, Ghost Rider? Appreciate you guys tuning in again. Thank you for taking a quick second. Liking the live stream. That actually helps support us more than you guys even think. Thank you for those who are commenting, by the way, as well. Again, this is one reason why I'm doing this, the interaction, right? This is different than television and anything else. You and I can interact. We can talk in real time. Just like Randy asked about the villages, and we broke that down. And others have been talking about their areas. I want to hear from you guys. Wouldn't mind taking a quick second, just saying hi, if nothing else. But again, this is why I'm doing this, so that we can collaborate in real time, if you will, and make sure that we cover the weather for you guys here in Central Florida. Now, again, at this point in time, we're doing okay as far as not ramping these storms up to an excessive level, right? We've had a few severe thunderstorm warnings today, all right? But right now we have what is now 5 different special weather statements. We're teetering on getting back to, more severe thunderstorm warnings because they're close. These are the local storm reports, by the way, for today. So I wanted to highlight that. We did have in the Yahalla area, 6 miles south-southwest of Yahalla, 1-inch size hail. Train spotter reporting quarter-sized hail, inch size, on Blue Cedar Road near the Florida Turnpike on-ramp. Okay, so right there near 27 and the Turnpike, which I've gone through that intersection more times than I can remember. But so south and west of Yahalla, but right there on the Turnpike, we talked about there could be some large hail there. That was at 6:58. So that was right when I came on, right? Maybe just a few minutes before, with that storm that was trying to make Yahalla. So there is the verified inch size hail, which more than likely is why the Weather Service issued the warning to begin with. Now up here, just north of Flagler County, we've got pea-sized hail in Flagler Estates, and we have 46-mile-an-hour winds from the weather sensor there near Hastings. Right now, those are the only reports around our area, but I'll be monitoring that situation as well. And we mentioned it just like yesterday, where, the Weather Service, they have these trained spotters, and sometimes, if they get the criteria, inch size hail or more, that will be part of the reason why they issue the severe thunderstorm warning. Now, this storm in Wedgefield kind of killed itself. And again, it's in a very clustered environment. Generally speaking, none of this activity that's all just kind of homogenized together should pulse up and be exceptionally severe. There could be some areas, especially on the southern flank, where the storms get a little bit more intense, especially with the heavy rain and the lightning. Again, you guys can see the live lightning count here at CFLW, which is relatively impressive. Storms are really beginning to move into metro downtown Orlando right now. The rain is picking up in Castleberry. Fiona mentioned Altamont Springs, where it's raining real heavy right now. Storms, a lot of lightning. Maitland, Winter Park, Goldenrod, Baldwin Park, Azalea Park. Downtown towards the Edgewater area there, Delaney Park. Or La Vista, Pine Hills, Holden Heights, another area, towards Lockhart. Then you follow it up towards the 414, Maitland and the South Apopka area there. So that's, again, not a strong storm, but a lot of heavy rain and storm activity there. The newest special weather statement, and they went with 2 of them, that's interesting, up near Pearson in Crescent City, but again, kind of swinging and going to probably follow these storms up towards Palm Coast. So, that's the strongest proliferation of storms right here, kind of northern sides of Lake and into portions of Flagler County. And again, we're getting close to this storm moving into portions of Palm Coast. Now, on the southern side of Palm Coast, there is the opportunity now that we are getting some hail. Those are the fuchsias and those blue neons that are flashing. Really high reflectivity on my radar. Could be indicative of absolutely blinding rain, but more than likely, considering the scenario that we have, there is some hail associated with that storm as well, or it could just be some really intense hail. It's all of those as a combination. And again, generally speaking, I would have the opportunity to look at the estimated hail size, but the product here from the Melbourne radar is not functioning at this point in time. It's not on my end because other radar sites are showing me that, but it is what it is. Linda says, so Titusville overnight, I know you have the answer. So Linda, for the most part, I think these storms will wind down in intensity through the 9 o'clock hour, like after 9 o'clock. Can't rule out, a little bit of redevelopment, but typically speaking, I think in a general sense, these storms will begin to fizzle out a bit past the 9 o'clock hour. But I do expect to do this all over again tomorrow and probably Sunday as well. But for Mother's Day Sunday, some of this could be even a little bit earlier in the day. We could actually have some storms trying to move on the West Coast in the morning hours of our Sunday. So again, it's just a very active forecast with the potent area of low pressure, which is currently situated here in the Gulf. Let me show you that again. If you guys are tuning in, you hadn't joined me for the 1 o'clock show, look at that spin. Now, at this point in time, it's at the mid-levels of the atmosphere. The interesting thing is, and again, for those of you who join me for the live stream at 1 o'clock and we get to talk about it, the European model actually wanted to make this a tropical depression. It actually had this as a low-level closed center of circulation with a pressure of about 1,003 millibars tomorrow morning, right? And a lot of the ensemble members of the European model actually supported, again, a weak tropical depression here moving onshore coastal Mississippi, Alabama tomorrow morning, right? Doesn't appear that's going to be the case. The HER, the GFS, the NAM, the other models didn't really pick up on it, but the Euro, which is pretty good at this, had that this morning when I was looking at the early stuff. And you can see that a little bit earlier in the afternoon, you had a pretty good spin there out of way from all of the massive heavy rain and storm activity. But again, a lot of energy across I-10, pulses of energy coming across the eastern Gulf, interacting with our sea breeze collision, keeping us quite stormy for the next several days. You got it, Linda. How you doing, Kevin? Good to see you. Lorraine, I'm using a system called WSV3, but it is a very highly customized system from the base product, if you will. I've spent hundreds of hours to customize it to get it the way that you guys are seeing it. I think she probably just wanted to know what's driving this right here, right? But I have a lot of different commercial subscriptions to things, be able to put together a lot of different things together. Some of it behind the scenes, some of it that you guys see. But again, this is our visible satellite imagery. It's high resolution. You can see the live lightning data here at CFLW. You can see the intense rainfall as well. So it's a great system, does a lot of great things. Over the last nearly 2 years now, really honed in on it, and I know that there's even better things to come, so I'm excited about it. By the way, just to break this down for you guys, this is the excessive rainfall outlook for today. Obviously, the areas where that mid-level rotation is closer to have an excessive rainfall potential, but even our areas here in central and the eastern side of central Florida have that opportunity. And we're just going to build on that for the coming days, right? Let's see here. I always forget where this one is. There we go. If I take it out to Monday, ultimately, we are going to be under a higher risk for excessive rainfall, okay? Again, just building on the rain that we could see. There will be some areas that will probably average 2 inches of rain a day through Monday and ultimately pick up more than 8 inches of rain. It's not out of the question. So right now, I'm more worried about the severe weather threat for the next couple of days. But starting Sunday, I'm going to be pretty concerned about where we could get some heavy rainfall and flooding conditions. So we got to get prepared for that as well. By the way, if you have plans for the weekend, tomorrow should look pretty similar to today, but I am concerned about earlier rain and storms for Mother's Day Sunday. I hate to put it out there, but I'm concerned about early storms then. Now, look, they may not be as potent, but you don't want to take mom out in a thunderstorm, right? Regardless of whether it's severe or not. This storm still looks pretty good over the Leesburg, Fruitland Park area. Again, Randy and the Villages, southeast side, towards Wildwood, 44, which takes you into eastern Citrus County, into Inverness. You've got the Turnpike, Wildwood, Lake Pan, they're just west of 75, and then taking 27 up towards Lady Lake. These areas will all have the opportunity for some extreme heavy rainfall, lightning, and maybe some smaller sized hail. Again, not damaging hail, but pea size, especially right there, 27, 441, 44. Moving up to the north right now, should be a little bit of a push east, but kind of moving a little bit more north than anything at this point in time. You can see that this is kind of extended out towards Mount Dora, Eustis, Umatilla, Mount Plymouth. Let's go back into downtown Orlando. Fair lightning now, heavy rainfall. Would not be a fun drive on I-4 in Orange County. It never is. It would be even worse with this weather though, especially as we head towards twilight. Apopka, South Apopka, Forest City, my friends in Lockhart, Eatonville, Maitland, Altamont Springs, Winter Park, Fairview Shores, all the way down towards the Edgewood, Pinecastle area. Breaking the action, we pick up more storms developing. And again, this is just one of those nights. where there's ample moisture, ample lift, ample instability, and storms are becoming numerous. Now, it's almost kind of like, we're getting to diminishing returns in a good way when it comes to severe storms, because there's so much activity right now. These storms can't get out by themselves and become as robust as if they had their own atmosphere and juice to play with. When these storms are as congested as they are right now, they tend to kind of stay on the moderate intensity. And that's what we're seeing, okay? Now, look, most areas still need rain. We have been in a huge drought really since October. So this is beneficial. A little bit more severe weather than we want, and I'm concerned about getting too much rain in too short an amount of time. But for those folks who haven't had a lot of rain in the last few days, and maybe this is your first good downpour, it's welcomed. No doubt about it. Hi, Fiona. Pouring now as well as regular rain. You got it. Blue Goose, you got your Cafe Bustelo? Listen, I don't know how long I'm going to be on tonight. Hopefully not a long time, but if it gets a little too late, I'm probably be going for some coffee myself. No doubt about it. Hey, Twins Mom, 2010, Alafaya Waterford Lakes. How are we looking? My cat used to be a street cat, so she has major anxiety. I get it. Our husky, who unfortunately is no longer with us, Thunder, not a big fan of the Thunder. I have many friends who have dogs and cats who are not fans of it. Waterford Lakes, Alafaya. Look, quite honestly, you're just in it. Now, that means from time to time, it'll be light to moderate. That means from time to time, you'll be in a thunderstorm. If you noticed, have you guys noticed I haven't really put a lot of tracks on the map, except outside of where we have maybe the most intense cells with a little bit of hail? This is just one of those scenarios, guys, where it's just going, and everyone's going to have an opportunity. And it's quite hard to say, look, that cell's moving to the east, northeast, and this one's where. More than likely, these two cells will merge. It's really interesting, depending on where you are, Twins Mom. You could be in this green where it's light, but this could be merging too, where from between Union Park and Azalea Park, these two cells come together, and it gets even more intense over Alafaya. But it's going to be stormy in general for a lot of Central Florida through at least the 9 o'clock hour, all right? Now, they have issued another special weather statement up here. What's interesting is that storm hasn't even made it there, but you can see the hail potential that follows 27-441 up the Fruitland Park area, far east side of the villages towards Lady Lake. So now this is going to try and make a run into Marion County. And again, Sunnyside, 827. Is there another Sunnyside? So there's a Sunnyside here. It's not out of the question. I don't have it on my map, because that's not going to be the Sunnyside it's talking about. Anyway, let's just say it's following 441-27 up to the Bellevue area with quarter-size hail possible. Now, that is quarter-inch size hail, not actual quarters. Big difference. Hey, Nathan, how you doing, pal? Power just flashed North Merritt Island. Thanks for that update. I appreciate that. So there in Brevard County, getting a little bit of power flashes. Look, enough wind, right? We could knock down some tree limbs. We could take down some power. I don't think it's going to be widespread, but that's not out of the question as well. And again, these storms are just extremely prolific at the hour. Before it gets too dark, we got to go back to our cameras. Now we'll look at those in the dark as well. I promise you that. But let's get back to our live cams and see what's happening. Back to Winter Garden. And again, this was the case yesterday, if you guys joined me, where it was cloudy. We actually broke into some sun, and then at the end of the stream, it was coming down here in Winter Garden. You can see the gray overcast and just punching through a little bit of filtered sunlight there. Of course, this camera is looking west, so we're looking towards the sunset there. Still about 50-ish minutes away. But that should be a pretty interesting camera to see how it's going. Linda says it's pouring, by the way, as well, there in Brevard County. Fiona's got it pouring down. Yeah, Blue Goose. I don't think anyone wants to drive on I-4 these days, no doubt about it. Here's Conway cam. Skies have clouded up. Storms are still to the west of Lake Conway. Again, Lake Conway is in the southeast side of Orange County. but another camera to monitor. And again, for my friends who like to head to the attractions, we've got this camera for you. This is just 1 mile from the Disney property, looking back towards the Disney property and the Magic Kingdom. It's literally just beyond that grove of trees, about 1 mile away. So we're looking back to that. We set that camera on purpose so that we could keep an eye as much as we can with this camera on that area. Obviously, we know that at all points in time during the day, folks are outside in this area, so we want to monitor that. But for those folks who are headed maybe for the fireworks displays, again, storms potentially could be an issue here on this late Friday evening. Certainly widespread, but area dependent, a lot of lightning. We don't want to deal with it. Now, at this point in time, Southwest Orange County is okay, but there are numerous other clusters of storms that aren't that far away, which could still have more impacts to Lake Buena Vista and the rest of the attractions area. So certainly not an all clear by any stretch of the imagination here. And I really wouldn't give an all clear to anyone at least through 9 o'clock, if not even a little bit longer. We'll see just once we lose the heat of the day, how quickly these storms want to go down, right? Again, one decent piece of news is that the Storm Prediction Center talked about potentially issuing a severe thunderstorm watch here in Central Florida. They never did. All right, so I was monitoring the situation through the day. They never did, right? Which is good because in their opinion, they weren't going to see widespread severe storms. Now, that doesn't mean we're not going to get rowdy. We've got 4 different special weather statements in a very small area here of Northern Lake, kind of far northwest of Volusia and into Flagler County. So Palm Coast, you know, this cell's basically on top of you. Maybe a little bit more intense rain coming in about the next 8 minutes at around 7:54 to 7:56, but you can see on my street level mapping, we've punched some of the heavier part of the cells right over portions of Palm Coast, just depending on what area we're talking about. The south side, closer back towards Bunnell, that's where we could still have some smaller hail. Now you notice, let's be clear about this, the new special weather statement is up to 88.88. That's nickel-sized hail, all right? It is the precipice of a severe thunderstorm warning, right? So you can see that 40-mile-an-hour winds, nickel-sized hail. That's why they go 0.88, because they always want to try and use something that we all know what the measurement size is. So 0.88 is nickel-sized hail. Typically speaking, I think we would stay in what I'd call the coin hail category for today. So dime, penny, nickel, hopefully no worse than quarter. We don't want to get above that. But if you were tuned in yesterday for the severe thunderstorm warning over Edgewater, they had ping pong ball sized hail as part of the warning. Hopefully not going to see that. That's another hail core just south of Crescent City on 17. That one is moving up to the north and to the east. So it's going to try and get a little bit closer again towards Bunnell and the far northwest sides of Volusia County, but should miss Crescent City just off towards the east. So you've got this huge cluster of storms just below severe criteria. But let me be clear about this as well. You don't want nickel hail falling on your roof, and you don't want nickel hail falling on your car. That is right at the delineation line where there could be some minor dents and dings. So I hope those folks in Palm Coast got themselves indoors for sure. Hi, Lorraine, raining in Ridge Manor right now. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Linda, wow, loud thunder scared me. Yeah. No, rowdy storms, guys. Noisy storms. Live lightning count here over the last 15 minutes, about 250 lightning strikes. And again, I have filtered out the lowest intensity of the lightning strikes. If you're new to the channel or we haven't talked about it in a while, I can literally filter out the lightning because sometimes we have such intense storms that when I zoom in, all you see are the lightning strike icons, okay? So even these numbers of lightning strikes don't fully account for all of the strokes that the weather computer is picking up, but most of them. Nice. Oh, Fiona, glad you're back. Let's go over to Brevard County. Nate was talking about some of the heavy rain and storms over Merritt Island. You can see that right now. Solid lightning Just a good, healthy thunderstorm. It's not severe. And again, there's a benefit with the rain that we desperately need. There's the downside that we're getting severe weather. And then there's the other downside that if we're going to do this 3 more days in a row, ultimately how much rain is going to fall and how much could we see flooding across portions of Central Florida. Obviously, the ground is dry, so we're getting more runoff than we normally do. Those areas that have been able to have some rain now have saturated soils. We've elevated some of the rivers, we've elevated some of the ponds, some of the lakes, some of the low-lying areas. Ponding on roadways are going to be a problem. And again, we're heading to a weekend. Folks want to be out and about. Mother Nature probably has some other plans for you, especially late afternoon and evening. But we can, discuss more about Sunday's forecast as well, being Mother's Day. Really concerned about just the overall look of that, because I think all that energy from the Gulf is just a little bit closer and could come on shore even a little bit earlier in the day, regardless of our sea breeze interaction. Additional storms are developing here closer to I-75. There's Ridge Manor. Lorraine was talking about Ridge Manor there, up 301, 98, just east of I-75. Dade City, Bushnell, towards Lake Pan. Again, solid storm brushing Lady Lake right now. East side of the Villages, near 27. If you're in the Villages and you're farther west towards 301, slightly better. South and west towards Wildwood on 44, even better. Again, all of this should begin to want to swing a little bit farther east, ultimately. Now, this is an interesting cell by itself right here. This one right over Astor. That's a nice little hail core that I just saw pop up. So this one kind of just north and west of De Leon Springs. Not a ton of lightning with it, but really intense rain and probably a little bit of hail as well. Wendy says, raining now in PC. Thank you, Wendy. I'm going to assume PC is Palm Coast. I can't think of another PC, so I'm going to go with that. Wendy, if you do live in PC, which is Palm Coast, let me know if you get any hail or you've heard of anyone who lives around you who did. This special weather statement, especially south Palm Coast, towards, even towards Beverly Beach, could be a little bit of hail here, even back towards Bunnell. State Road 100, north of State Road 100, east of US 1. Yeah, let me know, Wendy, if you've heard of anyone who have even had just even a little pea-sized hail. So they've issued a special weather statement for the one I just talked about, right? Oh, no, they didn't. It's this one. That's probably the next one, right there. So Orlando, good thunderstorm, not severe. Rain and lightning, widespread. Looks like Alafaya just stayed in the moderate stuff. Had a really nasty part of the cell, kind of merged east with Bithlow towards Wedgefield. This is an interesting thing here. You get this more sharper line on the southeast side of a complex, and there's clear air south. This could be an area where things intensify a bit down towards St. Cloud, but this is in relatively rural areas of the eastern side of Orange County, northeast side of Osceola. But as I'm just perusing the radar with you, just letting you know what I see, and that sharp line there, I think we've got some wind flowing into that, and that could sharpen up a bit and get a little bit stronger. Nice lightning over Merritt Island, too, as we mentioned. 47 lightning strikes in just the last 15 minutes there. Let's go back out to our winter garden camera again. There's a bug flying around. Again, looking to the west here, you can see there's another rain shaft on the horizon. That's pretty far away, by the way. This is a pretty high camera that gives you a pretty long and wide view. So that's probably deep into Lake County. A little bit of sun gleaming through there. Look at the top of your screen, guys. You can see those clouds just kind of streaking in. More rain moving back in there as well. Fiona says it's easing up. Appreciate it. Hey, East Florida Explorer, how you doing? Waiting for some rain in Ormond Beach. You got some yesterday, didn't you? You should have. But I know the desperation of wanting more. I mean, we have been so bone dry, and now we're talking about potential flood threats down the road. Linda says the rain has also slowed down there as well. That's good. You know, again, these storms are so clustered right now that we'll have to see if they can pulse up and become a little bit more intense. But there's still going to be a lot of heavy rain and lightning regardless of whether we get any, additional severe thunderstorm warnings. It's still a possibility here at 7:54, right? We still have a little bit of heat of the day. You saw a little bit of breaks in the clouds even there from the Winter Garden camera. And this cluster is intense. You've got 4 different special weather statements here. And it's that one with the nickel-sized hail on the southern sides of Palm Coast that it's the biggest concern, at least for me at this point in time. Then you've got this other storm moving out of the Leesburg, Lady Lake area, getting into the southern sides and southeastern sides of Marion County. Now, you get far enough east of 27 and 441, you're in the Ocala National Forest, and there's not much out there, obviously. But could some of this heavy rain and maybe even small hail right up 27 towards Value? It's a possibility. And again, the village is clipped, but certainly not getting the most intense activity. But it is interesting to see that these cells held together and developed far enough west to bring some of this closer to I-75. Ultimately yesterday, they weren't able to back build that far west. They developed a little bit west of I-4, but not to I-75. And again, sharp line here, Lake Nona Medical City. Widely populated area here, or heavily populated, however you want to say it, Narcoossee included. Along the 417, there is MCO, or Orlando International. Meadowwoods area as well, Buenaventura Lakes, Hunters Creek. Up the 417 towards Lee Vista, and then out towards the beach line for Wedgefield. All hefty rain and storms. Oviedo, my friends in Seminole County. Just solid rain over Lake Jessup and Winter Springs. Up to Lake Mary and Sanford, over Lake Monroe, the St. Johns. Solid core here. Again, that DeLand Springs storm here. Little surprised that this doesn't have a special weather statement near Astor right now. Probably pockets of some hail. How tall are those storms producing hail? Great guess. Probably over 40,000 feet. I'm only hesitating because we can put this into 3D mode. Now, the one thing I forget is, can we see the height when I put it into 3D mode? I don't remember. I don't know if I want to get crazy with this. So I could do that. And there's your tilt exaggeration. But I don't know if we're going to get, and again, what you're seeing is the lightning is just like, yeah, I can't handle that tilt. Yeah, I haven't played around with this a lot, but I don't think that we can actually get the height elevation on here, even if I go into 3D tilt mode. But it's an opportunity. I would say over 40,000. No, ask me anything you want, Linda. I appreciate it. Right? I think we showed the 3D tilt one other time. And it's something that I think is okay. It can be gimmicky, but what you can do sometimes is you can bring up that 3D tilt and you can do a slice of the radar, and then you'd be able to get an idea of that. Now, this is more of like an analysis straight, and I'll look and see what this can do. but I don't know if we can get that to be truly 3D where we could see the heights of the tops of the storms. All right, let me just reset everything. Make sure that I have everything correct here. Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's a little weird, Tiny Lake Wobegon is formed in my cocoa front yard. Okay, so Blue Goose thinks he has about 2 inches. Yeah, fair. I thought you got some. Yeah, yesterday was nice. No doubt about it. East Florida Explorer. Farrah got some as well in Ormond. It has been too dry for too long. There's no doubt about it, right? So we're coming up on the 8 o'clock hour, which is going to kind of spell a couple of changes for us. So I want to kind of reset the picture at 8 o'clock and then kind of talk about how probably the 8 o'clock hour is going to persist. So the first thing we're going to see is a few of our special weather statements are set to expire at 8 o'clock. And you see those have gone away right now, all right? We still have 2 out there now, or 3 out there right now. 2 of them went away. We have the one for Bunnell, Flagler Beach, Beverly Beach, and Palm Coast. Still potentially some hail down there in the southern sides of Palm Coast. It's the most stout storm because that special weather statement is talking about some nickel-sized hail. And again, that's the precipice, if you will, of severe criteria and also the hail size that could cause some damage to trees, could cause some damage to your roof, could cause some damage to cars, things like that. Nickel hail, it's really close. Most of the time, not going to be a problem. Quarter hail's worse, but it's close. You know, you get down to the dime-sized hail, you get down to the pea-sized hail here. That's not going to be a destructive hail size, but really intense rain and heavy lightning, all of that coming along for the ride there across the Crescent City area. And again, potentially wanting to swing back into the southern sides of Flagler County and work its way towards Flagler, Beverly Beach, and maybe even Palm Coast. But this is just a massive area of storms right now. Pearson, De Leon Springs, following 44 back towards Eustis and Umatilla. We still have our one special weather statement now pushing into the south central and southeast sides of Marion County, and just a huge smorgasbord of showers and storms across the rest of Central Florida. And it has been too dry. Hi, Lorraine. Rain stopped here, waiting for the next one unless it dissipates. Opportunity to see some more redeveloping. There's no doubt about it. So this is what it looks like right now. All right. Let's talk about kind of the overall situation for the coming days. I think this is important because more than likely there'll be an opportunity that I'll see you guys again tomorrow and maybe even Sunday, and if nothing else, for the Monday live stream show at 1 o'clock. So we could be getting to know each other here several more days in a row, but that's just the situation. Again, such an active pattern with the overall dynamics in the atmosphere. We have this mid-level low, which is situated just south of the Louisiana coastline. It's kicking waves of energy out of the eastern Gulf. We have our sea breeze collision as well. We have old boundaries from thunderstorms the previous days. And so everything is just going to be active and widespread. And as these storms develop, they're going to have the opportunity to produce severe criteria. Wind and hail being the main threat, a very low end chance for an isolated tornado. Sorry, I brought up something on my radar that I wasn't even sure what I was looking at. So again, the remainder of today, the slight risk, the 2 out of 5 for I-95 and I-4. Okay? Hang on a second. No thank you to TMCO. I didn't want to use you. I gotta remember to switch that. I brought up the terminal Doppler out of Orlando because I hit the wrong. I literally clicked on it when I was trying to drag the map. So this is the overall risk for today. Again, even out west, right, except the Tampa, St. Pete, Bradenton, Sarasota area, there was just a generalized thunderstorm risk. You're green, you're marginal, you're 1 out of 5. We kick it up a category to the yellow, the slight, 2 out of 5. Wind and hail, still the primary threats, 60-mile-an-hour winds, inch-size hail, hopefully at the top end of this, right? But again, this is today. Tomorrow, everyone has the risk for severe weather. Now we'll take a look at the timing coming up. The Storm Prediction Center has been doing this. This morning, this is basically what it looked like in our area And then throughout the day, the SPC upgraded the risk to the slight for central and eastern areas and expanded it throughout the day as well. That could happen again for Saturday, where right now we're all under the 1 out of 5 marginal risk, but ultimately some of us could get upgraded to be the 2 out of 5, the slight risk. It's not out of the question for your Saturday. And for Mother's Day Sunday, not much changes. It's central west because we're going to get that energy a little bit closer to the west coast, but still storms could be rowdy on the I-95 corridor as well. But there'll be a better opportunity for Tampa St. Pete, right up Highway 19 to the Nature Coast, Cedar Key. A little bit better chance on Sunday itself. Now, the models are going to probably change with the timing of the storms almost each and every model run, if I had to guess. But in a general sense, I want you to just take a look at how active the weather is going to be here for the remainder of the weekend. All right. So this will take us all the way through, 2 o'clock on Mother's Day Sunday. So this is the HER model, your high resolution rapid refresh. It only goes out 48 hours at most, depending on what model run I've picked up on. It's a great product in the short term, great high resolution, but you can clearly see how stormy it's going to continue to be. Now, if we go back to the present time here, I've got it at 9 o'clock. So the HER model has, again, still some storms around I-4, I-95. I'll be very curious to see the intensity of the storms between now and 9 o'clock, whether anything wants to continue to pulse up or whether we're going to stay below severe thunderstorm warning criteria. I think ultimately that's going to really determine kind of how the rest of the night plays out. We still have technically a little bit of daylight left, but it's very gray outside in most spots. We've been rain cooled in most spots as well. So again, could there be a shower or two left over past 9 o'clock? Absolutely. Tomorrow, this should play out about the same, where we should be dry through the mid-afternoon hours, all right? And then ultimately, as we get into that 4 or 5 o'clock hour for our Saturday, again, backing it up starting at 4:15, here come the storms again. Widespread, prolific rainfall producers, severe weather threat, wind and hail coming along for the ride. Widespread across Central Florida, late afternoon tomorrow, all the way into the evening hours. The HER actually tries to linger this even a little bit deeper tomorrow night compared to yesterday and today. We'll see. Maybe just by an hour. But again, the rain begins to fade overnight. That being said, and I haven't looked at this newest model run. The last one we looked at is when we did the 1 o'clock live show together. You can see that early in the morning on Mother's Day, we could have at least some rain in the area, right? Maybe not a lot of thunderstorm activity, but at least some rain. Now the HER model, the 48 hour takes us as far out as 2 o'clock. Look at all of that still has to come through. So Sunday, we'll probably start off wetter, and we'll see if we get the regeneration of storms behind it. But Mother's Day plans outdoors, it's not looking great, guys. I hate to say it. Get mom a great gift, take her to a lovely restaurant, keep her indoors, away from the lightning. What else are you gonna do? Hey, Palm Bay Jags fan, how you doing? Will Palm Bay get any of this action? Well, in a general sense, Palm Bay Jags fan, absolutely, right? The storms are just extremely widespread tonight. So if you haven't gotten much so far, you still have a good chance. And ultimately, between now and Monday, we all have a very high chance for multiple rounds of storms, multiple rounds of potential severe storms, and multiple rounds of heavy rain, and ultimately a flood threat as well. This is the next thing I want to show you guys. How much rain could we get through the overall event? Take off that here. It's a lot. Now, I want to be clear. This will count the rain from this afternoon, but doesn't count any of the rain that has previously fallen yesterday or Wednesday or earlier in the week. So a lot of this is how much more is going to fall in Central Florida between now and ultimately when it stops raining. It goes out 5 days, but this is really mostly between now and Monday night. You are going to see a lot of 4, 5, 6, 7-inch rainfall totals from our model. And every time I show this lately, these numbers have gotten higher. That's why ultimately, starting Sunday, we transition to a crap, we might have flooding. It's a lot of rain in a short amount of time for an area that's been under a drought. Pretty darn widespread I-4 East. I mean, really now 6, 7 inches of rain. And again, we want to average this, you know. There's certainly a possibility that University Park gets 6.9 and downtown Orlando gets 5.4, but let's average it 5 to 7, right? Seems like a good band. Now again, because the storms aren't going to be as prolific out west, the totals shouldn't be as high, but that doesn't mean that there can't be enough rain in a short amount of time in our western areas to cause some issues. And I do think that the GFS model is underdoing a bit of rain potential for the Tampa Bay area. I think we'll have pockets of more than 1.5 inches. I think we'll get 2 to 3 in some spots. But certainly, we're going to be favoring areas east and then north. And again, it's not just us. That's too far. It's not just us. It's all of the southeast. What a rainmaker this thing is going to be. I mean, just a ton. But ultimately, we could end up with some of the higher totals too. So down the road, we might be talking about the Weather Service issuing flood advisories, flood watches, flash flood warnings, all that kind of stuff. Hi, Brady. How you doing? Could there be a May tropical storm? Well, it's interesting you bring that up, Brady, because we were discussing that mid-level low, which is in the Northern Gulf. The European model actually showed it trying to become a tropical depression tonight through tomorrow morning. All right. I have not seen anything from the Hurricane Center, at least by the time I came on here to cover this with you guys live. The GFS and the HUR and the NAM and the other global models and even the closer, high resolution models never really picked up on it. But the European model, which is very good at this, right, did have a closed center of circulation with pressures low enough to support tropical depression status before it moved onshore. Tropical storm, to answer your question, Brady, no. Tropical depression, it did. I don't think it's going to ultimately happen. Take a look at the infrared satellite imagery here. What we were looking at earlier is there was a little bit of a spin right there. But it really does look like it's kind of elongated itself. Now, if I go back over to the visible satellite imagery, obviously we've lost the visible satellite because you have to have daylight. But right at the beginning, right there, you guys see that? If that could have mixed down to the low levels, that's where we could have had that closed low. I think ultimately this thing is opening back up, and it's not going to be that. Now down the road, Brady, most years have a named storm in May. I don't see anything in the pipeline, let's say, over the next 7 days. If there's one area to watch for maybe late next week, it actually wouldn't be in the Gulf, it would be in the Southwest Caribbean. And I do cover the Caribbean and the Bahamas on one of my other channels, Media Mundo. You guys can find that in the link to the description below. If you want to talk about tropics outside of Florida and the Southeast, we do it there. Been watching them take High Bay apart at Starbase. Interesting. So Brady, is that, when you say Starbase, are you talking about down in South Texas? Or are you talking about what they're doing at the Cape right now? Yeah, Blue Goose says rainy season has apparently started, not quite up here, however. Yeah, you've been a little bit drier, haven't you? NOLA is rowdy, no doubt about it, Fiona. All right, let me get off this terminal Doppler. Again, terminal Doppler located at MCO. If we had a storm right by the airport, fantastic. Otherwise, it doesn't have a very wide coverage area. And now this thing's going to have to cooperate. Oh, it did. Okay. Come on. Come on. Yes, I'm clicking the button. Let's try this again. But I don't want that radar. Let me turn it on and see if it'll let me do it from there. No? All right, fine. Let's do this. Don't make me shut you down. Should I talk nice to it or should I talk mean to it? Why this thing does not want to switch radar sites for me, I shan't know. All right. Let's do this. That's not what I wanted to do. It's camera time while I reboot that thing. Now, is that a bug or is that some rain? Is that a raindrop there? Just right over the lens? Really? But you can see that there's actually been a little bit of clearer sky that has come back. It's kind of interesting. You know, again, does that help to try and juice anything back up in the atmosphere? Curious to see. It's a potential. Again, a little bit of daylight left. It is only 8:16. It's not like we're completely done with that. We've got that little smudge on the camera. Now, that's a gorgeous shot. Lake Conway, southeast side of downtown Orlando. Looking pretty good at the hour. Again, you know, monitoring the situation. They've had some rain there, but they avoided kind of the worst part there in Lake Conway. If you look on the horizon, on the other side of the lake, you might catch a lightning strike or two. Few storms in the distance there. Could still be caught from that camera. Yeah, you're seeing that right now. Right-hand side of your screen. A little bit of lightning coming from that area. Good little storm there, actually. Getting a lot of lightning. Wherever these storms are going, man, that's the one thing. These storms are going to have really healthy lightning with them. Let's check out our Disney camera. Obviously, they got some rain. You can see the roads are wet. Ultimately, though, at least for now, we're holding on to some decent weather there at Disney. Still concerned about the fireworks, still concerned about the lightning, still concerned about being outside. And again, a little bit of daylight left. We're at dusk. But any little pump up of the temperature again, not going to help out the overall scenario. Okay, so we're back. It's cooperating. We're back over to the Melbourne radar. And again, typically speaking, I can just drive around all the different NEXRAD sites. We can look at a composite view, all of that. Again, this is so clustered right now. This is all kind of homogenized into one area, right? That the opportunity for these storms to be severe have come down just a little bit. They're going to be more widespread, which again is not the worst news. As much as we've desperately needed this rain, we'll take it. A lot of lightning, still pockets of probably some hail. We have the special weather statement for De Leon Springs, up 1792 for the next 11 minutes. Here's another one again, that one near Crescent City. Remember I mentioned that one earlier. There's your nickel-sized hail again. Again, precipice of being a severe thunderstorm warning, precipice of being large enough hail to cause some damage. Still the nasty storm, southern Palm Coast, Beverly Beach, Flagler Beach, hail core right over I-95. So I-95 near the State Road 100 exit, that's more than likely some decent hail. Wouldn't want to be driving on I-95 there as you get to the State Road 100 exit. Again, that storm, De Leon Springs in about 11 minutes, maybe half-inch size hail. Probably at the highest. And again, what the computer is saying is that this is all still kind of shifting east very slowly. There's not a lot of forward speed to any of this. It's not going to surprise me if the algorithm of the radar has a hard time delineating where each individual cell is going in this whole mess. And it is a cluster right now. It is absolutely a huge cluster. Here's what it looks like on the loop over the last 2 hours, guys. Look how everything has just all kind of come together. Again, the red polygons are going to be your severe thunderstorm warnings. Your yellow polygons are your special weather statements. Yeah, they had some bad storms in South Texas last night. They absolutely did, Brady. Hi, Donna Ray. How you doing? The Conway cam is facing east, so we're looking back towards the East Coast. Donna, appreciate you asking that question. Yep, looking back off towards the east. Right on the storm. Washington Oaks Access Road it is. Riders on the storm will be done Monday. I think I'm in the middle of a conversation. Linda says the lightning picking back up again. Thanks, Linda. Appreciate you. Hey, you guys want to talk amongst yourself in the chat? I love it. Every so often, though, I will say, hey, I'm lost. I try and glance every so often as I can to make sure I catch back up if anyone's asked me a question. But again, every so often I get caught up in a conversation that you guys are having amongst yourselves. All right, so I told you that when we hit the 8 o'clock hour, one thing that I was going to be really watching out for were, is there an opportunity that these storms are going to pulse back up, right? That has happened 2 nights ago. It happened Tuesday night as well. As we hit sunset, we had some regeneration of storms, and some of those became severe. Right now, given the environment and how widespread the thunderstorm activity is, my thought is that most of this activity should stay below severe criteria. That's good, right? We need the rain for now. We'll take it. There'll still be pockets of really intense activity. But as far as tracking a storm like yesterday where we had some potentially ping pong ball size hail near Edgewater, I don't expect that to be the case. Again, it's been a little while since we've had our last severe thunderstorm warning. These are all special weather statements, which is kind of like a degree lower. Remember, a severe thunderstorm warning, you have to have 60-mile-an-hour winds and or inch-size hail. You can clearly see, and this is what I love about this system and setting it up the way I have. Every time I zoom in, you know what it is, you know how long it goes for, and you know your threat criteria. This special weather statement is for 50-mile-an-hour winds and quarter-inch size hail. I can also just take a quick view of it. We can get an idea that it's moving northeast at 18. We can see the areas that it's going to impact: Pearson, Barberville, De Leon Springs, Elridge, and the Glenwood area. And then if we really wanted to get into the weeds, I can bring up the actual bulletin from the National Weather Service office, and we can look at it together. But all this should hopefully be secondhand to you guys, so when I'm in the thick of it, you guys can look on the screen and clearly see in your area what could be some of the hazards coming your way. I'm going to grab my Lean Law tumbler. Yesterday it was just water. I'm back to my Publix diet green tea tonight. It's good. I'm out of ice though, but that's fine. By the way, Bobby gave me a lot of swag. I got sunglasses, but I am definitely not cool enough to wear sunglasses indoors. I can promise you that. Look at the velocity product here. Now again, this is the wind. What I'm looking for is there any rotation as these storms move offshore? Sometimes in this environment, you can get water spouts as these storms come offshore and move off into the coastal waters. Make sure I have the special marine warnings on here. I do. So it's good news that, you know, they're not issuing special marine warnings for the nearshore, the offshore waters as these storms pull offshore. Kind of an indication they're staying just below that criteria. This wedge field storm is a little interesting, but the wind field is not strong. You notice, by the way, that there's a lot of lightning right there. Sometimes as these hail cores ramp up, you get lightning developing right around it. I mean, Bithlow, 50 wedge field as it splits with the 520. That's an intense cell right there. You know, there could certainly be some hail somewhere, either the southern sides of Bithlow, northern sides of wedge field, or just in between, given the amount of lightning that's also occurring with that cell. Storms have begun to propagate a little bit farther south. So now they're into Osceola County, Harmony, towards St. Cloud, Campbell, Kissimmee, Buenaventura Lakes, Lake Toho, our friends in Champion Gates area. Celebration is relatively dry. Of course, there's Lake Buena Vista where our camera is for the attractions. Again, we're looking that way, so that's why it's been drier there. And just some moderate rain kind of redeveloping here, western Orange and the central sides of Lake. For our Palm Bay friend, is it Jags fan? Palm Bay Jags fan. Should be a Bucks fan, but I'll let it slide. Right now, obviously you guys are relatively quiet. This is the activity here trying to drift and develop south and east that could try and make a run into central and southern Brevard County, right? This is just radar clutter here from the radar site in Melbourne, not really any rain. So the areas from Harmony and 192 coming down. There's a special weather statement down here that might drift into Osceola County, but again, now that it's 8:26, you know, how much longer does that hold together as well? It really does look like kind of the northern side of this is what's staying most robust right now. So we have another special weather statement here. And again, you know, we're into the Ocala National Forest. That's good news. But half-inch size hail there. And then there's more, again, nickel size hail up towards Crescent City, and your half-inch size hail possible over Flagler Beach, just south of Palm Coast. Let's check our cameras one more time, considering we still have a little bit of daylight. All right. Raining in Winter Garden. Here it comes. Now, we've lost just enough daylight where it switched over to the black and white shot, but you can clearly see now the rain coming down. This would also be a pretty cool time to get a little lightning stroke in here and check that out too. But, you know, again, it's a really common sight. The rain is just so darn widespread right now. You know, some areas want more of this rain. A lot of us do. Some areas have had enough so far. But again, I'm not too concerned about anything we get today and having any real flood issues. But I am ultimately concerned about the fact that we could be getting a lot of heavy rain between now and Monday evening, you know, with 3 more active days to come. But the rain beginning to fall a little bit harder in the Winter Garden area. So we'll call that moderate rain right now. Plant Street's going to be wet. Folks headed to the Crooked Can Brewery, probably not extremely happy about it. Flashes of lightning in the distance there from our Conway cam. Again, as asked, we are looking to the east here. Woo, that's pretty. Again, so these are going to be storms like East Orange County and into Volusia County from this camera. Tell you, this is some of the best lightning that we've had here on our live cams. Again, to be clear, lightning is not a criteria for a severe thunderstorm. Neither is rain. You could have the heaviest rain and the most intense lightning that you've ever experienced in your life, but if you don't have 60-mile-an-hour winds and or inch-size hail, you're not going to have a severe thunderstorm warning. Those are the only two criteria: wind speed and hail size. Now, typically, you know, if you get that heavy of rain and that much lightning, you're going to probably have some winds near 60 anyway. But just to give you an idea, it's not necessarily coming along for the ride. You're welcome, Donna. So what do the alligators do, Blue Goose? I mean, do they find an umbrella? Like, what do they do? Does one of them ask, hey, buddy, can you climb on top of me? I don't want to get wet. Or do they start fighting with each other? Does it, like, perturb them? Yeah, I'm just sitting on this camera because it's such a neat shot. And again, you know, our goal here at CFLW is to continue to provide you with even more cameras. We're working behind the scenes. Ooh, nice lightning strike there, to make that happen. Obviously, that takes financial resources, and if you would like to support the channel, you can do so in the description below. There are links there in the video description if you would like to directly support the channel, and we appreciate those who have done that. A few of you from yesterday's stream supported the channel directly as well, and so I'll come on camera to say a heartfelt thanks for those who did do that. And if you would like to support the channel, and we try and reinvest back into this technology, guys, you guys can do that as well. And again, we appreciate Lean Law being a sponsor of the channel. Allows us to keep going as well as we build the channel. If you haven't as of yet, thank you very much for hitting that like button. Thank you for subscribing to CFLW if you haven't as of yet as well. Again, both of those things are really, really simple asks, and I hope you guys will take a quick second to do that as well. So we're getting to sunset now, friends, and that lightning is becoming even a little bit more prominent here from the Conway cam. Again, I'm monitoring behind the scenes. There's no active severe thunderstorm warnings right now. All this is all kind of glommed together where we're just going to get moderate to heavy rain, a lot of lightning, ponding on roadways, a little bit of flooding in low-lying areas, and from time to time, a bit of a hail core. But hopefully staying below hail sizes that could really cause any damage here to Central Florida. Ultimately, we've done okay tonight. I was a little bit concerned looking at things earlier this morning about how some of these storms could be what we call more discrete out by themselves. It could really pulse up to that 70-mile-an-hour wind threat and 1.5 inch hail size. You know, if you asked me earlier in the day, I would have said that that probably was going to be likely with some of the storms. So we avoided that. We're getting a lot of rain, which is beneficial for now. Again, still could see some flooding down the road, but we'll deal with that when we have to. They sit and look fat and magnificent. Nice. Hey, I am technically a gator, and I would not ever argue with a gator. And if they want to look fat and magnificent, I'm going to let them. You know, I grew up in Crystal River, which, you know, is on the West Coast, but even growing up back then, there actually weren't that many gators around. I think we saw 2 in the entire time I grew up. Now, I tell my kids, I'm like, anything that has water, you have to assume there is a gator in it, including the retention ponds in the neighborhood, which they do, right? You have to. So yes, I will watch them magnificently from a distance, as I have a lot of respect for them. So, I mean, again, in the distance, friends, that is not a severe thunderstorm. It's just a lot of lightning associated with this. Good heavy downpours. Again, from Conway, we're probably picking up the Wedgefield storm, right? Kind of due east of Lake Conway if we were to draw a line, and that is probably one of the most intense cells left over. There's not a special weather statement with it, but my radar is still picking up the potential for a little bit of hail there. And I mentioned how there was a lot of lightning around that area, Wedgefield south of Bithlo, and that's exactly what we're probably looking at here, just based on, kind of going due east. So now it looks like we just hit dark enough conditions in Conway, where our camera automatically flips over to the black and white to give us the higher gain, to still give us a good visual. But a lot of lightning streaks there. Check out Winter Garden again. Still raining pretty good there. Just nice steady rain. Kind of being whipped around with the wind. And here's Disney. Again, they've had some rain near the attractions, but right now they look okay. Still don't want to give anyone the all clear, but generally speaking, we're looking a little bit better the farther west that you go. Oh, they're everywhere, Donna. They are absolutely everywhere. Yeah, it really, I grew up in Florida, and then for 15 years, I worked at various TV stations across the country that weren't anywhere near Florida. I mean, I guess Alabama, Mississippi were close, but not in Florida. But when we moved back in 2013, stark difference in just how many gators were around, and just how you had to have more respect for them, and just assume that they're in the body of water that you want to be in as well, So it's nice to see them in those things. I mean, obviously you catch them outside a lot in other areas, but you do have to be very cognizant of them, I guess is the easiest thing to say. So this is the storm here, right? So here's Conway, where our camera is located. We're looking due east. So this is the storm that we picked up with the Conway cam. Bithlo, Wedgefield area, again, all of that lightning, right? Even, again, tiny hail could be falling out of that. At this point in time, we still have our special weather statement up in the Palm Coast area. This one's moving north to Crescent City. This is a pretty nasty one, again, north and west of Astor, but it's in the Ocala National Forest. That one has half-inch size hail. That one north of Crescent City has nickel size hail. This activity on the southeast side has come up just a little bit, okay? And again, potentially, this tries to make a run a little bit east and southeast over the next hour or two. But we've hit sunset. We'll see if these storms can really hold together, or they begin to die out a touch more as well. There's the moderate rain that we saw from the Winter Garden camera. Again, if you're not familiar with where Winter Garden is, it's on the far west side of Orange County. The northern side of the city is on the shoreline of Lake Apopka. Then you've got Ocoee and Oakland and Montverde and Apopka to the north and to the east. And there's the light rain over portions of Lake County there as well. Brady, I don't believe there's any risk of a tornado at this point in time. Earlier in the day, there was a minor concern for rotating storms, but when we see this presentation, it's going to be very rare that a storm is going to get out by itself to have the atmosphere to kind of produce rotation enough to cause any problems. An area that we would look out for just general intensification would be on this south flank, because again, the moisture the storms haven't moved through these areas and the atmosphere isn't as raked. And those south winds, which have an abundant amount of moisture associated with them, can funnel in to the south side of this. But you even have a cell down here which could be cluttering things up a little bit. But ultimately, no, I don't expect there to be any tornadic threat for the remainder of today. Now, tomorrow could be a whole different story. Again, still expecting severe weather, same time frame for our Saturday, and for Mother's Day Sunday, that time frame could be a little bit earlier in the day. Well, Brady, we just showed you the Disney cam, and it's actually pretty quiet there in Lake Buena Vista. So as of now, things are quiet there. Ferris says, raining good in Ormond Beach on A1A right now with lightning, but not really any thunder. Gotcha. Yeah, that's going to be the general trend. And again, all these two special weather statements, are gone in 5 minutes, and this one in Marion County is gone in 35. So friends, I got to say, I feel pretty good about the situation across Central Florida here at 8:40. I said that, I wanted to watch the 8 o'clock hour to see if these storms would pulse up near sunset, but really they've all kind of homogenized together, and what you see is what you get. So more than likely, we're not going to have any more severe weather tonight. Still could always change. Something could get a little bit squirrely, a little bit of impulsive energy coming out of the Gulf, something that I don't see, but I don't expect it. I do expect us to continue to see widespread heavier rain, which between now and midnight should begin to kind of fritter away and dissipate and fall apart. But, even within the last 15 minutes, we have nearly 200 lightning strikes in Central Florida. That should come down over time as well. But I hope you're getting some of the rain that you want. If you need more rain, I hope you get more. If you've had enough, I hope you don't get any more than that as well. So here's what we're going to, I did have bacon last night. I swear to God, as soon as I got off the air, I went downstairs and I killed a lot of bacon. Yes. But tonight, I actually had dinner before I came on, which was clutch. It was good to have dinner before, because then I was like, you know what? Regardless of when I get off, whatever time, 9, 10 o'clock, whatever it is, I got a full belly. I feel good about things. I'm not hangry. Don't want to be hangry with you guys, right? Just depending on the live stream last year, like during Milton, I don't know how long we were on, 8 hours, 10 hours. That was, let me take a quick break, wolf down a granola bar, but still ultimately by the end of the night, 3 granola bars aren't going to keep you going. But I don't want to stop too much, right? Part of the deal is to keep you guys up to date as much as we can. Okay, so here's what we're going to do, friends. We're going to wrap up this live stream because I think the severe weather threat here in Central Florida ultimately is done for tonight. I'll always keep an eye on things, and if there's ever a need to come back on, I will. Once again, I've said it plenty of times, but I do expect more severe weather opportunities tomorrow. Again, right now, the risk is all of Central Florida for Saturday. Same time frame, late afternoon and into the evening hours. It's not going to shock me if parts of our area get upgraded to the yellow slight risk. This is 1 out of 5 in the scale right now. Potentially we go up to 2 out of 5. Still the same threats for tomorrow, where we could have winds of over 60 miles an hour, inch-size hail, in an isolated tornado threat. Sunday's weather, we'll talk more about that tomorrow if I see you guys live, which more than likely I will. But again, could be a little bit earlier in the day with some showers and storms even on the morning of Mother's Day. And then we'll see if storms re-intensify on Mother's Day afternoon. And by then, we start to get into more of a flood threat, because now we've had multiple days in a row of very heavy rain, and there's a lot of moisture and rain coming in on Monday. And so that's going to be a problem for those spots. Friends, as always, CFLW is sponsored by the Lean Law Firm of Central Florida. They're your hometown homeowners insurance attorneys. They offer free consultation and policy reviews. We don't ever like to think about it, but if a storm comes through our area, we have hail damage, wind damage, hurricanes, we've been in an auto accident, they can help you with that. They'll walk you through every step of the insurance claim process. If you'd like to support someone who supports us, go to leanonmelaw.com if you would like more information. If you would like to support the channel right now, all you simply have to do is click that like button. Thank you for subscribing as well. Again, want to get to that road to 1,000 subscribers. It's very important to get to 1,000 subscribers. Ultimately, it's very important for the channel to continue to grow. I need your support to do that. Thank you again for those who want to directly support the channel, you can find ways in the links in the description below. And again, thank you for those who, I send out little notes to those who do. So thanks for those who did yesterday, and I'll do those for, again, those who contributed that way for tonight as well. Have a great, safe rest of your Friday night. Again, get prepared for more storms tomorrow. If and when it's necessary for me to be on tomorrow, I will be on live. Have the notifications on for the channel, and you'll know when I am on. And again, we'll discuss things. If for some reason I don't see tomorrow because the severe weather never developed, we'll be monitoring the situation for Sunday. And of course, Monday's heavy rain and storms. As always, I see you guys regardless, Monday and Friday for the live shows at 1 p.m. here on the CFLW YouTube channel. Thanks to all of my friends in the chat. I appreciate you guys. Thanks for all of those who are watching as well. Have a great rest of your evening. And again, with this active weather, I'm sure I'll see you guys sooner than later. Until then, take care.